A person inside a building, you can't tell if he's wearing a uniform or not.
I remind you that the mandate that we've been given by United Nations is to protect civilians from the attacks or from the threat of attacks. And to the best of our knowledge, those people up there in that roof were shelling at civilians. And that's more than enough to fulfill the UN mandate.
Can you please give us a bit of details about when you say we will behave according to the rules and the traditions if we meet the migrants? When you say rescue, you mean you give them food and water, or do they stand a chance to board a NATO ship if their ship is in distress? Do they have any chance to do that? If they get on a ship, do they have a chance to apply for declare that they want to apply for asylum? And finally, do you have any legal base or anything to bring people back to Tunisia, as allegedly some of these groups were offered to by NATO ships?
Well, that's an excellent question, but as you will realize from my dressing, I'm not an expert in maritime rules and laws. So what I can tell you is that the NATO captains know exactly what to do in such situations. And again, we should base all the assumptions on real facts and not on those reports. I mean, we've heard lots of reports. So first, it's a good idea to double check them. And again, when NATO has been directly involved, nobody has complained about that.
As the General just said, are fully aware of the responsibilities under the international maritime law, and we will continue doing everything in line with the international maritime law. So this needs to be clear.
David Brunstrom from Reuters. I wonder if we could just follow up on the question that was asked earlier in Italy, because we didn't actually hear the response to it, which was, I think, do you have any evidence to suggest whether Gaddafi is alive or dead at this stage?
Well, I say again, we have no evidence about what Mr. Gaddafi is doing right now. And I tell you the truth, we're not really interested in what he's doing. Our mandate is to protect civilians from the attacks and from the threat of attacks, so we're not looking after individuals.
To add that we are not targeting specific individuals, but solely military targets. Solely military targets. Next question. Please, at the end.
Consul from TM News. My question is quite simple. Do you consider that Mr. Gaddafi is an objective as command and control, not as an individual? Because if you say we are not targeting individuals, I understand, but it's hard for me to understand that Gaddafi is not a command and control center, even if it is an individual and not a site.
No, again, our mandate is clear, to protect the population from the attacks. So NATO is not targeting individuals. No individuals is a target for NATO. We only look after command and control center because we want, the targets we're after is to stop Mr. Gaddafi, to give orders to his troops to keep slaughtering the civilians and to prevent humanitarian aid to enter the country. So again, we're not really interested in individuals, not in Mr. Gaddafi's life. We're after the command and control centers as a second part of the broad campaign I was talking about. First, we had to stabilize the situation in most parts of the country, and then we could move to the next step, which is preventing the regime forces to give orders to the troops on the field.
We have time for two more questions, one in Naples, one in Brussels. Naples, Rich?
Thank you. I'm again Paolo Santalucia from Associated Press. Last week in Rome, there's been the contact group for Libya, and the French Foreign Affairs Minister Juppé said that, according to him, the mission, Unified Protector, could last still a few months. Can you comment on this? Do you think is it just a matter of months?